Okay, hello everyone. So this is the first in a series of short videos that I'm going to record about using the R programming language for data analysis and for data science tasks. So the R programming language R is a fully developed programming language in its own right, and it was initially developed though for kind of data analysis, for handling data and analyzing data. And that is the task it's most commonly used for. So that's what I'm going to focus on here. So I've used R extensively for data analysis over the years. I don't use it very much these days, so I tend to focus on and prefer to use Python for data analysis and data science type of tasks and activities. But R is very good. I do like R. It's got it's open source, so there are a lot of contributors to it, and there are a lot of very good software libraries and packages available for conducting kind of data analysis. And you can use it for many things. So it's got really good libraries and functionality for tidying and wrangling data, for visualizing data, for conducting statistical analyses, for conducting machine learning, and even Bayesian statistical analyses. What I'm going to focus on in this series of videos is kind of some basics, setting it up, basic commands, getting familiar with using R, and then probably tidying and wrangling data, a bit of data visualization, and maybe some of the more commonly used classical statistical techniques, the frequentist statistical techniques. But you can use R. There are a number of different ways to use it. First, you can just kind of install R and you can use the command line to execute your commands. You can also, whilst doing so, you can create scripts and then execute those in the command line. But one of the most common ways, or probably the most common ways people use R, is through an integrated development environment called RStudio, and that's what I'm going to mostly use on this particular series of videos. There are other ways to use R though. You can, if you're familiar with the Anaconda distribution and Jupyter notebooks and like using notebook environments, you can use RStudio in notebook environments as well. And I might at some point demonstrate how you can use a notebook version of RStudio. First thing first though, in this video I'll just cover some basics such as installation and setup. So if you've never used it before, the first thing you're going to need to do is install R on your device, and then once that's installed, you can then install RStudio as well. So I've already loaded these web pages so you can see that. So to get started, what you'd need to do is go to this website at rproject.org, and you can see there's a couple of options here. One of them says CRAN Mirror, and if I click on that, so this is the Comprehensive R Archive Network, and what you'd need to do is select one of these to download to be the place where the R and the related packages are downloaded from. So you'd pick one near to where you live. I'm in the UK, so I'd pick one of these three here. Once I'd done that, I could then click on download R, and it would download R, and I could execute that. I'm on a Windows machine, so you need to select the correct version for your operating system, and that will all install. Once you execute, that will all install and set up. So once you've got R installed, then the next thing you need to do is go to this website. It's called POSIT. This seems to have been rebranded, and the POSIT now seems to be kind of like some overarching company that have ownership or responsibility for RStudio, the RStudio integrated development environment. You can see there, the RStudio IDE. And as you can see, this is kind of like where to go if you want to download RStudio. And you can see it tells you the two steps you need to do. First of all, you need to install R, which is what I just covered. And if you came here first, you could then click on that. It'd take you to this previous website and allow you to install it. And then you can install RStudio. Okay, so once you've done that, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to run through that. It's pretty straightforward. It's click on, downloading files, executables, and executing them, letting them install, going through the normal installation process for software on your device. I'm not going to do that because I don't need to, because I've already got it installed on here. Well, actually, I don't have it installed. This is my work computer, and what I'm doing is using RStudio, but I'm using it through a cloud paging player. So once you open, having installed R&R Studio, once you open RStudio, you're kind of be greeted with this type of screen with 3 different sections to it. This first section here is, as you can see, is the console. So you could type commands in here, execute them. Here we've got the environment, and this will tell you if you import data sets and things that will show up here. If you create variables, they'll show up in this environment as well. And then this other section down here, this is going to display certain things that are useful, such as your files. So here, this is looking at my home directory there. Plots that I haven't created any yet, so you can't see them. But if we click on packages, that's kind of a useful one just to look at. Then you can see the only packages that are currently installed in this is just like the base version of R&R Studio. There's very few, so in order to do the types of things we're going to want to do, we're going to install lots of different packages, such as the Tidyverse which is a good package for manipulating and wrangling data. And there are a couple of ways to do it. I'm going to cover those in another video though. But you've also got like this here help screen, so you could, if you typed hype in the help in relation to a particular topic in the command line here, it would produce the output here for you. So let's just go back to there to start with. So what I'm going to do in this video though is just I'll demonstrate a couple of real basic commands. But first of all, what I will do is I'll show you how to create or open a project, and create a project and then open a script in relation to it. And that will create a 4th window here, so our command will be down here, but our script will be above. And then we can type what we need in the script, and then execute in the command line. So if I go to File, you can see we've obviously got these different options up here. But if I go to File, the top, and New File, you can see there I could just open an R script right now, and we could do that. That would be absolutely fine. And you've got a number of different options. You can use it. There you can see you can use a Quarto document, R notebook, so you can run from RStudio straight away. You can run a notebook type of environment. You can even create Python scripts. You can see down the bottom. I'm not going to worry about that stuff too much. But I'm not going to just open a script. When I'm doing data analysis using in this sort of way, similar to creating sandboxed environments, what I like to do is create projects in RStudio that keep all the different scripts relating to a particular project or analysis together. So what I would do instead is I click on New Project. If I click on that here, you can see it's telling me it's creating a new project. Might have to wait for a few seconds whilst this thinks about what it's doing. The other thing to notice here, you can see the command line prompt here in the command line, typical of a lot of command line interfaces. And you've got this black text above, which is just boilerplate really with some basic information. So I'm going to create a new project in a new working directory. So if I click on that, I want an R project, and I am going to put that in. I've already created a folder I want to put that in, so it's going to be called R Data Wrangle and Viz, so that wrangling and visualization. And I'm gonna call it data wrangling. Let's just call it that to start with. And then I'm going to click create project, and it will create a new project in that. You can see the path there that it's created in the right in my C drive. It's going to created a new. It's going to be in this particular folder here. But once it relaunches, there you can see it's now R data wrangling. So it's loaded the project. You can see here. Previously, this just said none, but now it's loaded it. And then I'm going to go File and then New R scripts. And what you can see now, this is probably the most common view you get. When you see someone working with R, is these 4 windows. This is the script at the top, the command line is the window underneath, and then we've got our environment and also this other viewer here where we can see different things from the output. You can see now that we're in this R project. So all I'm going to demonstrate though with this is I'll type a few commands and say a few things before I finish this video, just some really basic information about commands, and then we'll kind of save this script. And then in future, when I open this project, it will open the relevant script essentially that I was last working on. So a few things, as is common with a lot of programming languages, you can put comments in your scripts, and then when you execute that script, the commented out lines will not be executed. And in R, you use the hash sign for a comment. So this is a comment. So you can see it's in like a green color. So I would ignore that. So this is a really simple script. If I click here, if I right click, in fact we could do it here when we save it, we'll save this particular script. All I'll demonstrate first of all though is how to essentially run, use R as a little bit of a calculator, how to create variables, an assignment of variables, and then how to kind of run that script so what you put into it executes in the command line. So if we did something like 4 plus 5, we could then run that, and you can see that what I did there was I clicked Control and Enter, which is the keyboard shortcut. I could have clicked on this run button as well. In fact, I'll do that. So, but what you can see is 4 plus 5 is 9, and it's executed that and provided us with the output there in the command line below in the command line interface. So let's do 4 times 5, something like that. And then this time what I'll do to just show you it's different is I will click on run there, and you can see 4 times 5 is 20. So all I'm doing here is using R as a calculator. A couple of other things worth knowing is, so if we did 3 and then the little character and then a 2, so this would be 3 raised to the second power. So what we should see in the output here is 9. So yeah, 3 squared is 9, but there's another way you can actually do that as well. You can do 3 and then 2 asterisks together, which is quite commonly used in a lot of programming languages, and you still get the same result below. Okay, so all I'm doing here is using R, is creating an R script, and I'm using it to just do some maths, essentially treating it like a calculator at the moment. But you can also create variables. So if we say x equals 10, y equals 5, and then I could do x times y, something like that. So if I highlight these 3 and then run them, what you'll see is a couple of things have happened this time. So I've created a variable using this equals operator, using the equal sign as an assignment. So I've basically assigned the value 10 to the variable x and the value 5 to the variable y. And when I've executed those commands, it's in the environment here, it's created those as variables with values. So x, you can see, is 10, y is 5. So that's how you create an object, a variable type of object in R, similar to or a type of object-oriented program. So you're creating objects and manipulating them. And then the third line underneath, which I executed at the same time, was x times y, so 10 times 5. And you can see it's produced that result for us in the command line below. But what I've done here is, as the assignment operator, I've used the equal sign, which is quite common in a lot of languages. In Python, you assign variables using the equal sign, and you can do that in R. That's completely, it will work. But it's generally seen as a kind of bad form, and there's a different character that's usually used for assignment of variables, or to assign variables to an object in some way, and that is it's this. So if I create another variable z, and it is this, sorry, less than, and then it's like this arrow, z is equal to, let's say 25. Yeah. So the keyboard shows, so that, if I run that line, you see we've now got a variable z created as well with a value 25. And you can see it's shown that I've executed in this line. So you can see in blue here, the lines in the script that again execute are shown, and then the output, if there is any output. A quick keyboard shortcut for creating. So if I let's say I create another variable, let's say a quick keyboard shortcut for creating this little less than arrow symbol is, if I remember correctly, it's Alt minus. Yeah, that works. And let's say that is 3. And then why not? Let's execute that line. So we've now got a is the variable 3, and then we could do a divided by, well, let's say, no, let's keep it simple. Let's do a times z, execute that, and we see we get 75. So, okay, I said I was going to keep these short, didn't I? And it's already much longer than I intended. Let me show you how to save this first. So if we click on Save Current Document, like that, it'll ask us what we want to save it as. And as you can see, it's identified the path straight away for us. It's putting us within this R project that I named R Data Wrangling. So we'll call this basic R info, something like that, something simple. If I save that now, you can see it's been renamed at the top. Okay, so that is all I'm going to cover in this first video. In the next videos, what I'll do is, the next few, I'll move on to talk about installing packages and libraries, and also then we'll look at importing data, and I will cover in a bit more depth the different data types you have in R, such as character variables, double precision variables, which would be floating point numbers in languages such as Python. Okay, that's all I'm going to say for now. I wanted to keep this at about 10 minutes maximum, but I've not managed to do that. But I think I've covered a little bit of ground. So hopefully by now you understand how to sort of get started with R. You can install R and then install RStudio. Once you go into RStudio, it's easy to create a project, and then using this option, and then once you've got your project, create a new file by opening an R script, and then you can, whatever you put in that R script, you can save. So you can create a load of code for analysis and save it, and you can execute it. It's much better to use the script and then execute the script, because if you make any errors here in the command line, you can't go back and change them. So you could spend ages typing out quite extensive code, say, for a particular analysis. And if you've done that all here in the console, in the terminal, you would not be able to go back and correct your mistakes. So create a script and then execute it at the command line is kind of the simple advice on that. Okay, thank you for watching and listening, and I'll create another one of these videos soon where we'll talk about installing packages and different software libraries.